You had 60 minutes to put hands on them and figure it out, and you couldn't. So, like, don't try to put hands on them after the game. Am I wrong there? I think that's not like
no. You're 100%. Correct in your wisdom. And usually I'm that guy too, but in this case, I don't know, this is America. I'm going what's good for TV. I love it. I love it.
You want to see it. There was a little tension when Coach Franklin went over after the game to go shake Coach Loxley's hand because that last second touchdown, Bo Perbula, you're up that big. You've done what you've done. Those guys have been playing the majority of the fourth quarter. I also see the side of like, these guys have deserved the chance to play. They've earned their chance to play.
And I hadn't even thought about the point you made about the transfer portal and guys getting, touching the field and getting the feel for it. We've got receivers, we got DBs, we've got linemen, we've got running backs. We want to see from a pure evaluation standpoint.
I watched Urban Meyer challenge a 4th and inches spot when he was up 63 to fucking 14 so, in the chew.
Quarterback sneak right side, touchdown, Penn State!
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far?
And this segment's brought to you by Family Clothesline. They kept us looking sharp all weekend. I'm currently wearing one of the Lulu Polos. It's a Family Clothesline exclusive. Make sure you guys check out Family Clothesline for all of your Penn State apparel needs.
Well, I did not have this in my tea leaves be. I did not think Michigan was going to pull this out. And I want this to be known that it's not that I'm not happy that they did. I just
the game.
Wow. We did talk a little bit about that. Anything can happen on rivalry weekend. Yeah. I did, though, say Michigan needed to pull something out of their ass, and they did. 4 in a row.
Yeah.
I was joking with guys on the sidelines. I was like, there's going to be a for sale sign in front of Ryan Day's house before he even gets done. I was like, the fallout actually hasn't been as crazy as I thought it was.
Yeah, no.
I also haven't been super plugged in. I'm sure it's not great. Might have to pick my guy Joshua Perry's brain about that, but yeah, unbelievable. But it's got us headed to Indy, face the Oregon Ducks, bro.
Yeah,
big one.
Gotta love it. Back in the Big Ten title bout, man. But yeah, this was a crazy weekend, rivalry week, like we talked about. I mean, starting with the game. Did Michigan pull something out? I feel like they honestly, they were who they were all season. Tough defense. Hand it off to the back.
Bro.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, but they were still, 6-5?
Yeah.
Or whatever the hell they were. Like, they were still, struggling to win football games. And Ohio State, $20 million roster, Jeremiah Smith, Quinshon Junkin, they had guys, bro. And you're makes you wonder if maybe the old Kyle McCord ditching the main piece for the side piece. Is the grass always greener on the other side? Because that cat is having himself a year.
Yeah, and we can talk about that game too in a little bit, but that was a big one.
Yeah. Well, let's pay the bills first, bro. As always, thank you to Family Clothesline, big supporter of the network here at State Media, big supporter of The Pocket, and Caroline and crew always have us stoked out. Make sure you guys are checking out the Family Clothesline, especially around holiday season, bowl season. They're going to have some cool stuff coming out, so make sure you're tapped in, plugged in with them, online, in-store, whatever it is. Z-Bart. We're going to have another Z-Bart Defensive Play of the Week this week. Your car, vehicle needs cleaning, detailing, the whole nine. Make sure you're checking out Z-Bart. Got a good lineup of products and services for you guys to make sure that you're protecting one of your biggest investments. And last but not least, Hidden Still. B is on the road, so I will do the honor.
Gotta get you another bottle, brother.
I know I do, bro. I got a little bit left there. Got too much time sitting here in my desk, But Jack and crew, great initiative with Hidden Still, making sure that they're doing their part and giving back from an NIL perspective. A big portion of every bottle purchased goes straight back to the collective and NIL initiatives around Penn State athletics. So if you're going to drink some of that brown water, make sure you're checking out Blue White Bourbon from Hidden Still. But yeah, getting back to it. I mean, the Michigan game still surprised me though, dude. Like I know that there's a lot of theatrics on it, but then when you look at it, like realistically speaking, had to win for Ryan Day. They were playing really well. I didn't get to watch much of it because I did the pregame show. I was watching it during the pregame show a little bit, but then all the theatrics are out around the game. But like I said, I did see the result while I was on the sideline and right before the boys ran out of the tunnel, and we're about to get the opening kickoff, and I was like, good gracious. But, yeah, crazy weekend, though, dude. I mean, Texas tried to do everything they could to let A&M back into it, ultimately held them off. Syracuse beats Miami.
Yeah, I saw that one coming. I knew Miami was going to slip up again. That defense has just been
suspect
all year.
Yeah, they've been suspect. But then that opened the door for Clemson. After Clemson goes down to South Carolina, Clemson finds himself back in the ACC championship, bidding for a 4 seed or a top 4 seed here if they're able to get it done. Who do they got? Who are they playing?
SMU.
SMU. That's right, SMU. And they ended up a strong finish to their season as well. But the whole landscape, man, I mean, maybe we just dive into this because I kind of want to talk about this. I've talked about it before, but like the conference championship games are becoming a problem, in my opinion, because they say that they're not going to like hold it against the loser of the conference championship. They still made it to the conference championship. But I've said this, if the conference champion or if the conference runner-up then goes and plays, and let's say they make it to the national championship, they'd have played one more game than everybody else in the country, basically negating any incentive to have to play in that game, because your upside is you're going to get a bye and a top 4 seed, but your downside is you're going to play an extra football game and like against a physical, tough opponent, and then have to have a longer road back. It's just they got to clean that up, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. That's, a lot of coaches aren't going to like this situation they find themselves in with starters, similar to, I mean, I guess it's different from the NFL in terms of the end of the season because you still get a chance at winning a Big Ten title trophy. That's great for the resume, great for players to feel. But if your goal is the national championship and you want to run that risk, like you say, play an extra game, tough opponent, there's going to be, bloodshed in Indianapolis this upcoming game. At least we're talking Big Ten here. Yeah. It's definitely something that we have to fix, or NCAA has to fix in regards to this new playoff format. I don't see – all it's going to take is one injury, and coaches are going to be out.
You're going to have a Florida State. You're going to have a Florida State type situation.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Riddle me this. What do you think? Yeah, right. Exactly. But what do you think about this? Kind of like basketball, since you can't play a conference tournament, kind of like basketball, you name a regular season outright winner. So like in the Big Ten's case, it would be Oregon. I'm sure it's tough with some other ties around the country, but you can probably do metrics, and then it becomes a thing of like point differentials and all that stuff actually does matter. I think coaches think it matters. It probably does, but it really doesn't because we ultimately play the games. But if you make that an actual deciding factor in who wins the outright Big Ten championship or conference championship, then you take the 2 and the 3 team from each conference and you play a like cross conference wild card to play in type of thing.
I like that.
I think that would be interesting because then you're incentivizing these guys to say, hey, maybe it becomes an extended first round of the playoffs, but you're limiting the chance of there being extra football games played. You're rewarding the teams for playing well during the season, essentially giving them another bye week, but you kind of do a play-in from that perspective.
Right.
I kind of dig that one.
Yeah, I like that a lot. God damn it. Hire Christian Hackenberg, director of college football playoff bracketing format.
Don't go too much. Don't gas me up too much. But I've been thinking about it. I think it would be sweet.
No, for sure. Like you said, something there needs to be answers. Hopefully, there's a brain trust going around with ideas. Spit them out like you just did because We know how college football can be. It can be a little delayed. Hopefully, this doesn't go on for too long, too many seasons.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's gonna be one team that's like, oh no, hell no, we're not doing this.
Someone's gonna get the short end of the stick this year.
Yeah. But then the money's involved with the championship games and teams traveling, central location, hotels, the whole nine. It's definitely something that needs to be spoken about, though.
No doubt. And then I think we got to talk about this whole planting of the flags and everyone getting their ass up in the air and wanting to throw hands after 60 minutes, having an opportunity to put hands on them. Getting maced, tased. But I mean,
kind of shit.
Am I too much of a grouchy old bastard where it's like, bro, like, listen, I don't think you should be planting flags. Like 100%, I think it's bullshit. Bush League, fucking like, bro, you beat them, just like beat them and keep it pushing type of thing. But like, if you lose, you kind of open yourself up to that possibility. And then don't throw a hissy fit because they beat your ass for 60 minutes and you got some type of qualm with it and you want to throw hands afterwards because they want to rub it in a little bit. Yeah. Like you had 60 minutes to put hands on them and figure it out and you couldn't. So like don't try to put hands on them after the game. Am I wrong there? I think that's not like
no, you're 100% correct in your wisdom and everything. And I'm that guy too, but in this case, I don't know. This is America. I'm going what's good for TV. I love it. I love it.
You want to see him.
I mean, I'm not saying I need to see these kids fight, but I love the energy that goes into the whole rivalry week, because you don't see it any other week. This week guys went insane. And I think it's even funnier now to where half of these rosters probably didn't even start.
Yeah.
With the program to really like feel the rivalry. Like Ohio State, Michigan, that's different. Yeah. You saw Jack Sawyer, he's going 0-4 against Michigan. Hell of a player, made some crazy plays, so he was fired up. But I kind of love it. For the folks that can't watch college football, I still say, how the hell can you not? This is the most entertaining, sport going on right now. NFL has Sundays, and that they do, their thing, and it's completely separate. But Saturdays, it's for the boys on campus, and part of it, I love it. You
bring up a good point about half these. Like that's my thing too. Is like I feel like the planting of the flag or like going up there and like scuffing the logo or whatever it may be. Like have a little respect that there's been generations before you that have played this football game that have won and lost and didn't do any of that bullshit. Let's just have a little respect there. I don't know, man. Like the game's kind of bigger than. It's got to be bigger than I feel like all these kids are trying to get a social media clip. Like it's like
that I don't like because it's like you had all this energy, like you said, 60 minutes. Yeah. And where was that? Where was this fight at?
Yeah, like you had 60 minutes to handle business and you didn't. And like, sometimes fucking, hey, it's like you said, this is America. Like motherfuckers are gonna act up if they want to act up, and you can't. I don't know.
But the planting of the flag. It goes both ways. I understand the want to plant the flag, and then I understand the losing team not taking that shit. Right. And but at the end of the day, I guess I more so enjoy the chippiness of the rivalry week. Yeah, we definitely don't need guys getting maced and fans are storming the field and doing crazy shit because then it gets too carried away and college kids drunk. So to your point, being a mature father. You don't want to see that. But I do enjoy the chippiness of the rivalry week.
Yeah, I want to see it. Like I said, I want to see it when between the lines, when the game's on, like, cool. Yeah. But, like, you got to clean that up. Someone's got to step in and do something about it because it is, like, that's the thing is, like, before. But, like, do you remember when there was a brawl after a game? Like, what was the one? Miami and FIU back in the day when we were younger?
Yeah.
Or was it Florida Atlantic or Florida International or one of them where it was like nuts, dude? I mean, but that was on ESPN for like fucking 3 weeks, dude. Like that's all anyone talked about. The Pacers, Ron Artest, and Pistons won. Like
it overshadows the game for sure.
But like they were talked about, and like I was watching ESPN this morning, and like some of it was up, but it's not like people were like, oh yeah, like just brushing over it, like the shit was cool. It's like you're enabling it to happen again. Like it's like that's not for me. It's like you can't you can't do that. Someone's got to get a grip on that stuff, man. It's brutal.
No, for sure.
I just think it's bad ball, bad for the game.
Yeah, no, it definitely taints because you don't want to overlooking the great game that it was. And then ultimately, I mean, guys got to realize there could be some, legal repercussions going on after these games too, which is not funny at all. So
let someone sue. Let one person sue.
Yeah, somebody gets hurt the wrong way, or fan gets hurt, staff. There was bodies flying all around all weekend in some of these games. There's some big dudes flying around. So definitely got to bring the reins in on this.
Let one person get sued and it falls on the university and see how
exactly,
especially when it becomes revenue sharing. See how quickly that next check hits your bank account as a player.
Right. The whole freaking yard line will be security lined up, roped off. But I would love to see, as much as I joke about the feistiness, love to see it during the game. Then after the game, like NFL, it's war between the numbers and until the clock hits zero, and then you see guys piece it up, dap it up, which is what guys do any other week. That's why it is comical just to see all of a sudden it's like, I really love this program. I'll die for this program.
And then I heard, and then I did see something afterwards though about how someone, I think it was probably somewhere on Penn State Twitter, but someone was talking about how lucky we were to have gotten away with halfway trying to plant the flag at USC before Coach Franklin stepped in, and how that could have been a brawl earlier in the season.
I mean, and stuff like that. You respect Coach Franklin, and it's like, no, that's not what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
And I mean, you gotta have your reins on your team to stop it. At some point, some responsibility goes to these coaches. Like, hey, what are we doing with your squad? Ryan Day, all these losing teams is like, you gotta learn how to take it in the chin when it happens too. That's a sign of maturity in a man as well. So
no doubt,
most definitely.
Well. We'll get back to some of this stuff, I think, with another point we're going to make here. But let's dive into this Maryland game, bro. What were your takeaways? Because, I think I have a lot to say about – well, not a lot to say. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But what were your overall takeaways from the game and both sides of the ball? We'll obviously get to our Z-Bart segment here too. But what were your takeaways?
Man, I hate to sound like a broken record, but I won't say the last few weeks. It's tough because
we go 3 for 4. Realistically speaking, we go 3 for 4 with A+ performances to end the season.
Yeah.
Am I tripping with that?
You do. No, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. And it's something you always say, playing your best ball late in the season, and it's kind of a tricky answer to where it's like, are we? Half me wants to say yes, but the way we come out the gate in this game in particular, it's like against Oregon, I don't think that's going to fly. Against any top 10 team in the playoffs, that's not going to fly. So the way we came out against Maryland, I try to stay calm at home on my couch, watching it, not get too stressed out. To where, ultimately I know and understand, hey, we'll get it together. But, man, the way we came out, it was almost worse than Minnesota because Minnesota, you respect them as a good team. Maryland, they've got talent, don't get me wrong. But the way we came out, no, it shouldn't have been that way.
Bro, I thought it was some of the bad juju around college football, that just everything that was going on. I was because like I said, that news broke right before they ran out. And I think I would assume – if Coach Franklin didn't tell him, someone checked their phone nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, Franklin said, I don't think he stated he didn't know, but the kids, they know, man. Come on.
But they knew what the deal was, right? And to the first play on offense is a fumble, and then the first play Maryland runs, they go man, and they get fried on a spray fade for a touchdown, and I was just like.
But to your point, okay, we know this is the game that could take us there. Is your hair not on fire? Hey, let's get these boys the hell up out of here, pack them up, get out the game in the freaking third quarter, and go get lit after the game, which they did inevitably. But, to come out like that, it's like, You got to know. I said it last week. Maryland's going to come out swinging. They got nothing to lose, nothing better than to spoil your season. I expected probably more trick plays and things of that nature, but
yeah.
Nick Singleton gets stripped. I'll give that good play on defense. But first play for our defense, shot. This is the shot zone. Why not take a shot? Go into the student section. Press man, okay. You got to know it's coming. That receiver has been doing that all year to everyone, so he's a good player. I'm not going to take that away from him.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's tough to even get this riled up about it because the end result was belt to ass. But
yeah.
Just big picture, it's like, okay, Oregon coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I was, a part of the Big Ten Championship 2016. We came out slow, but Oregon, I think, is a different beast than Wisconsin when it comes to scoring points. Yeah. And I have a full, trust in our defense, but we cannot come out, and offense, we cannot come out like that.
Yeah.
But just as, that's just how the game started. But we settled our feet, and ultimately, yeah. You got after them. Defensively, I thought we were pretty sharp, man. We had, I don't even know how many turnovers we had. 4, 5
picks, 3 or 4 picks. Yeah.
Yeah. Abdul Carter was coming alive, and that's one thing I do love. Abdul coming alive in this season, just the confidence, getting to the quarterback, finishing some of those plays we've talked about. He hadn't quite done in a few games. But I think it's almost like I said, a quarterback or a receiver catching the ball, getting home, getting those sacks. It's going to pay dividends in this next Big Ten championship game in the playoffs. So I love to see that coming. The whole D-line was getting after it. Linebackers, I still think we can play an even better, cleaner game, gap accountability, things of that nature. And then in the secondary, man, they're playing their tails off. A lot of young cats getting a lot of reps. Xavier Collins got his first interception. Great play, I think, like a trap corner in cover 2, jumping in front of receiver. So I think the confidence, especially coming up into Oregon, probably the best receiving core we're going to see and quarterback combo. I like where we're at on the secondary right now.
Yeah, I thought the defense played a really complete game outside of that first play. I mean, to turn the football over in the manner in which they did, listen, Maryland, they were not great up front, which made a lot of our D-line's job much easier. But
second-string quarterback as well.
Yeah, but they overall, it was one of the more complete games I've seen them play. A lot of complementary football in the sense that the rush married up with the back half coverage, which ultimately presented opportunities that we took advantage of. But it was, to me, a very, very good, very strong performance on defense. Yeah. I would say more like leaps and bounds more impressive than even our offensive performance on Saturday.
Yeah. What's your take on? I mean, with that being said, I thought, to my eyes, offense wasn't. I mean, same thing. Didn't come out guns a-blazing, but in my eyes, I felt like they were.
No, I mean, I thought they were great, but I just thought it was more of like by committee. There was no one really, like Drew was 190 something yards, maybe 200 yards. Like it wasn't like killer crazy from his perspective. Nick was 80 yards, K-Tron was like 30 something. Ty had like 30 or 40 rushing. Tyler Warren.
It's just funny. I mean, we're at the point as Penn State fans where we just glaze over that, but
our Swiss Army knife.
It's a tight end going for 50 yards. I feel like at least 50 yards a game this back half this season rushing.
It's unbelievable.
Is really unbelievable. We've gotten accustomed to it, but it's not normal. That kid is great. Yeah. Should be higher up in the Heisman just due to that.
I think he will be. He broke a couple. I think he broke the Big Ten all-time receiving yards record for a tight end in a season. Broke Penn State, a couple other Penn State records. But
broke Pat's. I think we talked about it with Frymouth last season. His touchdown record. For tight ends.
Ty's hot, man. He's playing really good ball right now. But I just thought it was more like by committee, right? And they took advantage of opportunities. For whatever reason, they didn't have like just one guy really stand out and have like a killer performance, but they put the ball in the end zone, right? And that's all you can ask for. And that's just kind of why I said, like, I think the defense just had it just seemed more impressive to me. And that's why I said I think it felt, I still think that there's some things that we got to get better at. We got to continue to try to find ways to create separation on the outside. We got to continue to find ways to throw the ball efficiently in quick game situations, like possession passing game situations, as I would call it. Because that's when you're playing Oregon's, when you're playing the teams that we're ultimately going to be playing the rest of the year, you need to be able to still move the football efficiently through the air with possession passing game. And it can't be like off the RPO slides and all these things. Like, I just don't think it's super sustainable. You still need to have a guy who can go out there and win against one-on-one with a slant or whatever. So not saying that we don't have guys who can do it, but saying like, I haven't seen a ton of it. So it's like, consistently. I mean, we've seen flashes of it, and I'm sure if you did a deep dive, but I think that's got to become more of a focal point of our offense. And, subsequently Drew needs to start, I just feel like you got to have a guy at quarterback to win a national championship and get to where this team wants to get to. And I think Drew has obviously the skill set to do so, hasn't had a ton of opportunities to do that consistently. So, just being more and more comfortable with that, I think with that responsibility is big. And again, maybe this game wasn't the game to do it. Maybe he does it next week and throws for 455 yards, 460 yards. Who knows, right? Like, I don't know. But like I said, I just was much more impressed with the way our defense played than our offense. But not to say that I don't think our offense is in a good spot. I think they are.
No, I think Drew has shown what you're saying in his own way. I think it's going to be hard to have that type of 400-yard performance without the dynamic game changers on the outside. To where it's I got a guy that can win. I have a guy I'm highly confident in winning on these routes that you talk about. Yeah, it's a straight go ball, like you said. Taking a few shots a game, but confident shots to where a guy is going to win. Without the dynamic game changer on the outside, I think it's going to be hard. But I like what he's shown the last few weeks, whether it's USC starting there, Minnesota. As far as like you said, kind of putting the game on his back. Yeah, this game wasn't the one to do it. Yeah, we handled them in a great way. I got our running game going again, still taking a lot of negative plays, which I think our interior can kind of strengthen up a little bit. But, definitely was everyone kind of added their 2 cents, which I like. Amari Evans had a few catches, touchdown. Oh, did he have a touchdown? He had a few catches. Got him going a little bit. And then Psycho T, once again, we had the tight ends making catches. I think that's the position we talked about at the beginning of the season, to where probably, the mismatches are more so favorable in our. So we get those guys going. It's going to be hard against sticky coverage against Oregon. It's going to feel like an Ohio State game, I believe. But that's where their size can kind of come in handy. We're going to need it. We're going to need it too. So it may look a little different, I think. But Drew's. Not that I ever lost confidence, but I have confidence going into these primetime matchups, starting with Oregon, Big Ten Championship, and then moving on after. So, but it's going to take everybody. It's going to take everybody, not just Drew. It's going to take all 11 on the field, winning their individual matchups.
No doubt. Let's I think that pretty much sums that game up. Just finish it up. Whatever. I think we got a few other things to touch on, but let's get our Z-Bart defensive play of the week. Again, this segment's brought to you by Z-Bart, your vehicle's best defense, detailing, suite of services, taking care of your whip. These guys are the guys to call. B, what do you got for us?
Yes, with the Z-Bar Defensive Play of the Week, got to show love to the LB's back-to-back week interceptions. Last week, we had our guy Dom DeLuca. This week, we're going with Tony Rojas on the second interception of the game. Big play. Obviously, score is quite handled, but they were building a little momentum here. You see they're creeping in the red zone. Tony Rojas punching out once again on zone defense, like we spoke about last week with Dom DeLuca. Looks like maybe a cover 3 here, but I love him getting in the window, straight hands. And this is what we're going to need against Oregon. We can't run man all week. all night. So zone defense is going to be big. Linebackers, a lot of plays to be made. Tony Rojas, another interception of his young career. I like this kid a lot. Z-Bart, defensive play of the week.
I love it. I love
Tony
it.
Rojas.
Tony Rojas. Yeah, he actually played pretty well. He's been up and down, I think, but getting him continued back on track. Obviously, a kid with a ton of raw talent and intangibles. So,
Great story too.
Keep climbing, my boy. Keep climbing, my boy. Fellow Virginia boy, always got extra love for my Virginia.
What are y'all? 405, 504.
I was the 434. I don't know. He's Northern Virginia. He's more like hammy shit, but we'll give him that. I'm South Central. But yeah, that's good. And then I think this is a great time talking about what I said about like this whole Big Ten championship, conference championships in general, in terms of like how are we going to handle them, and maybe the metrics being the points of differentiation in these things from a seeding standpoint, because there was a little tension when Coach Franklin went over after the game to go shake Coach Loxley's hand because that last second touchdown Bo Perbula threw in there as the fourth quarter expired up pretty significantly. And Coach Franklin explained that away. He's like, listen, man, I think these kids deserve a chance to play. I'm not going to do whatever. And I do agree with him there. I think these kids do deserve a chance to play. However, I still also have a little bit of that grouchy old man in me from an anecdotal story. We were lighting up probably my most hated rival in high school, Woodbury Forest, my senior year, lighting them up. I had like 4 touchdowns in the first half, and my high school coach had gotten kicked out of the game my junior year for defending me. Because their coach and their student section was getting a little rambunctious, and it was the only game in my high school coach's 40-something year career that he's ever been kicked out of. Wow. So we go into the game our senior year. It's senior night. I'm lighting them up. We're beating the brakes off them at halftime, and I'm like, don't stop. Right. And Mickey ended up pulling me in the third quarter, and I learned an important lesson about that. And we just we rode off in the sunset with our hats up, and kind of took the high road. But with that being said, I see both sides, right? Like I see both sides where you're up that big, you've done what you've done. Those guys have been playing the majority of the fourth quarter. Like, hey, go down. Take a knee, let's get up out of here. I also see the side of like these guys have deserved the chance to play. They've earned their chance to play, and that's why I say bringing up the point of conversation I brought up earlier in the season or earlier in this episode is if you make some of these decisions from a seeding standpoint about metrics, then you have Coach Franklin's point completely valid, and I think that's really the only thing that you can potentially delineate, because we talked about the college football math, and you're seeing all these people talk about, well, this team only lost to this team by this much, and this like that doesn't work. Let's just use the tangible evidence we have by the teams that have played. You know what I mean? And that's where I think you can clean up a lot of this animosity by setting the standard, even with the coaching world, saying, listen, guys, conference games are going to be judged by point differentials, and that's going to affect your seeding directly for playoffs. Yeah. So if you're a team like Maryland, who's, taking it, and you got to understand, like, listen, guys, like Penn State's vying for, potentially a 2 seed as opposed to a 3 seed. If they need, 3 more points or something like that, like, you damn right they're going to try to score a touchdown at the end of the game, and you got to play all 4 quarters, right? Like, I think it's a way to kind of put the temperature down in some of those situations, and especially with the transfer portal, because I think a lot of the reason why Coach Franklin did that was because he's got guys who potentially want to transfer out, and you can't really like just tell them like, hey, sit, wait your turn. You need to give them opportunities to play. You need to give them opportunities to score. So
that's the
I just think I think that kind of solves a lot of problems. But I mean, what was your take on that interaction? I know I just gave an extremely long-winded, multifaceted, big weave answer right there, but I thought
that was perfect. I mean, one, we know these two coaches have history, great, long history. So who knows what else is playing all around in the background. But coming from straight off the game, I agree with you on all Coach Franklin's points. Mainly to me was like, hey, your ones are still in the game, right? and the point of like, hey, I want to give these opportunity for guys to play ball, like, and even just going small picture, you're not going college football and point differential and that argument. Just simply Penn State perspective, our number 2 quarterback, we've seen it happen already. He may have to be in the game and make those throws. And I like the young Tassir Denmark getting his first touchdown. We keep talking about guys on the outside who's going to step up. Maybe it's not this year, but, I think those reps are invaluable to a young guy, to a quarterback, like we keep talking about, seeing the ball go in the hoop, collecting a touchdown. So from that perspective, as a homer, I love it. I love to see, that experience, laying the ball in there, all go, a young freshman receiver getting his first touchdown, building on what can go into next year and the year after that. And I hadn't even thought about the point you made about the transfer portal and guys getting, touching the field and getting a feel for it. I mean, that probably could be the biggest argument. And without anything else even being said, it's like, hey,
I'm not going to have those guys run out there and take a knee. Yeah.
Yeah, we've got receivers, we got DBs, we've got linemen, we've got running backs. We want to see from a pure evaluation standpoint, and it's like, I come up on that same ball that we're talking about, like, hey, we don't do that. I've been on the other end of that. We have together. But at the same time, it's almost like, hey, we got to do what we got to do over here. If you don't like it, stop it. These aren't our ones. We didn't leave the starting running back in to run over your third string linebacker. It's not the case. So I do agree with Coach Franklin. And to add to that point, it's kind of like that, similar to the Minnesota game and kind of that mindset with the 4th down conversion, and maybe we haven't quite seen that from Coach. It's the attitude of like, hey, F you, I want your jugular, and I'm going to take it. And that's what we need to get to that next level. And it starts, there's seniors that may not be here next year, or they won't be here next year. So trickling in that energy to the younger guys is like, hey, go out there. This is your chance to, touch the field, go out there and make some plays, go eat. Like, let my dogs loose. And that's the energy. Hey, come on now. We keep talking about the big dogs in the conference over the last few years. If we want to be that, we got to be, ruthless. Cutthroat.
I don't disagree with that either. I think that's not to be I didn't bring that up, and that is not to be overlooked because I watched Urban Meyer challenge a 4th and inches spot when he was up 63 to fucking 14 in the shoe.
I forgot about that, bro.
And I watched Bill run up and down this. We got 43 scholarship guys. We got 22 scholarship guys. The number just kept going down and down. Oh, man.
That is funny.
That's good.
Man.
But, well, let's keep it pushing then. I guess let's talk a little bit about this Oregon matchup before we get up out of here. That's good.
It's almost – I mean, we did talk about it after the Ohio State loss. You said it. Everything we wanted is still in front of us. Need some things to happen. Obviously, they did.
Yeah.
It's almost – because it was similar to 2016. We needed some things to happen, needed to win at home to finish, to even secure it. But I don't know. It's something about this year to where it almost feels – maybe I haven't been on social media as much and I'm not seeing as much, but, like, was this year more expected? I mean, I guess we've been number 4 in the country for a while and all that. We've been talk about the talent, everything being better, but –
I just think, like, I don't know, man. Like, I think the schedule obviously played out in our favor. Like, I'm not gonna disagree with some of the talking heads about strength of schedule. Like, we've played a tough schedule. We've won some tough games. We've lost some tough game. We lost a tough game. But ultimately, like, we handled what we needed to handle.
Yeah.
And I think the parody of it is I've struggled to put it into words, but I think you brought it up great. Like, I think this year was like the year it would happen because the manner in which things happened. Like, we didn't lose to Ohio State in like some embarrassing fashion. Like, we talked about it, people overreacted, but ultimately that came down to like 4 moments of situational football that we went 0 for 4 in. If we go 50%, there's even an argument if we go 25% in those situations that it's a completely different football game. So for me, like, it almost felt like this year they kind of grinded through it and like earned it in a different way, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, I don't think the way they played against Michigan I guess last year, the way they played against Michigan last year and the way the Ohio State game went last year, like, they didn't deserve it. Yeah. Like, in the football god world, like, I just don't think the team was developed, the leadership was developed. Like, I don't think they were ready for it. I feel like this year, like, the way they bounced back after the Ohio State game with that Washington win, the way they bounced back with the Purdue win, right? Like, next opportunity, you can't control who you're playing, but you can control the product you put on the field. I just almost think like it's kind of like good juju coming around. Like, this team kind of earned it by taking the next steps in the sense of, like, it's not glaringly obvious if you're just a fan watching or just a follower of college football. But like, if you really have watched this team the whole year, like, it's an opportunity. It's a tough challenge. Yeah. And it's one that, like, I think coach really wants. I think it's one that these guys really want. And like, I think it's going to take kind of that extra 0.5% from everybody, or that extra % from everybody, to ultimately get it done. Because I think Oregon's just been sitting in cruise control. And like, I think you brought up a great point about how Dylan Gabriel, this receiving core, Dan Lanning's going to have these guys ready to go. He's proven it time in and time out that big games, like whether they win or lose, they're still ready to go at all times. So, like, great veteran quarterback who's won everywhere he's been, great head football coach who's a great motivator. Like, they're going to be ready to go. So you need to come in with the same attention to detail and focus as they do, and throw your punches, man. Like, you can't leave anything in the tank, because it goes back to what I said. Like, if you lose, your path becomes much harder. But if you win, the double-edged sword is your path becomes much easier. You win one more game, you're in the semis. You know what I'm saying? So it's like your upside's right there. And I just feel like it's kind of like that hungry dog eats. Like, Oregon's kind of, ever since that Ohio State game, has just kind of been in that cruise control where they've been like the hunted, but no one's really been able to give them much of a challenge except for Wisconsin after that Ohio State game. I just think they're a little, I'm not going to say comfortable, but I think they're comfortable in the setting that they are. I think Penn State really has nothing to lose. Like, you just kind of got to go into this game swinging, give them your best shot, like all stops, like no fear, burn the ships type of mentality. And I think you got a shot. Yeah. The only thing that scares me is, like you said, I think if Oregon turns this into a track meet inside, no real elemental effect. Like, I don't know if we're built for that. Like, we have to make this an Ohio State mirrored game. But when you talk about guys on the outside, like, we handled Ohio State's guys, and Emeka Ibuka, Smith, like, they got Jeremiah Smith, they got guys on the outside. We were able to tamper that down. They also didn't have Dylan Gabriel. They had Will Howard. So it's like,
that's the
that's the wild card. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So Dylan comes out like, well, like, I think he can turn it into a track meet, and like, we can't. I don't think we can. That's not our game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We neutralized Ohio State's weapons, but it still ended up being somewhat of a draw, which we can't, because our guys, got neutralized, to where we need to win that matchup.
You win something.
Yeah. To your point about the 4 different moments in the game, that was one of them, and that it's gonna be similar, like you said. We've got to, and I gotta give Oregon more credit. Someone probably bring it up. I discredited them beginning of the season. I don't know, the Big Ten and coming from out west and the flashiness. I discredited them, but no, they're the real deal. They're way more physical than I think people give, including myself, give them credit. both sides of the interior can dominate. And like I said, against Ohio State, that's where it's going to start.
Yeah,
we can't give them any explosive on the ground. Over the air, I think they'll make plays. I like that matchup, confident that matchup. But
me too.
I think they'll make their plays. But on the ground is where we can't, similar to Ohio State games, we can't lose the edge and Henderson's going down the field for 30 or whoever the running back is.
Yeah.
We can't do that. So
we have to win that. Like, we have to win the rushing attack battle.
Yeah.
If we can win the rushing, because that's the thing. I mean, Ohio State really did struggle. I mean, they had a couple of explosives, but they had a lot of we had a lot of TFLs, so it kind of neutralized the overall average, and it was pretty much I think we might have even won the average in the
plays they did make. That's on us more than they just ran guys over, ran around guys. It's like we're not sound. We weren't sound.
But I mean, that's what I think it's going to come down to. But I'm excited about it. I'm really excited to watch again. I think the temperament of this team, because it's going to tell a lot. Like if the team comes out, like you said, focused, hair on fire, throwing punches, like I truly believe kind of the sky. I'm not going to say the sky's the limit, but like anything could happen if this team's really confident. And like they've done everything towards the latter half of this season to put themselves in a position where at least mentally heading into this matchup, they should be very, very confident about it. Yeah. So like go shoot your shot.
Right. Literally. And that's what I like. Like you said, you win, your trip, your road, your journey is all that easier. But to your point you just stated is that, hey, you win, that confidence going against the best team you've been against all year. And, I think back to after the Ohio State game where guys felt like obviously there were some plays they left on the field and there was a lot of chatter on social media, hey, we'll see these boys again and all that. And I wasn't a fan of that because, it's not the way it works. You had your shot and that's what it was. This is your shot at the big boys of whatever you want to call it. Number one team in the country, elite talent across the board, every position. Whether you look at that individually, like, hey, I'm a corner, I'm going to go, no one knows my name, but I'm going to go, do my thing against this big name receiver. Go down the line at any position. That's the way I see it. If I was to go line up against an Oregon back as a number one team, it's like, hey, this is a time to, put on, draft stock, anything you want to talk about.
Yeah, whatever your motivation is. Yeah.
Yeah, just straight competitiveness. Like, hey, they're good, but I'm going to be better. Like you said, I'm going to be better at 10% than I've been all season and make the plays that I've been very close to. This is the game. So, and like you said, they do that. We handle our business and win another Big Ten title. Add another one to Franklin's list. I mean, that's 2. There's a lot of Franklin haters out there. I mean, it's been 8 years, but
bro, it's a big game in terms of just changing the narrative.
Yeah, that too. That too. And then you take that into the playoffs. Once again, playing the number one team in the country, elite talent. That confidence level going into whoever we'd see. You got to believe that would bode well. So I'm hoping these boys and the coaching staff, we always talk about the players, like you said, cut loose, throw your punches, nothing to be reserved on, and just play ball, man.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thing. Like, everyone asks me, like, oh, like, how do they match up? Like, listen, bro, like, you and I both know matchups are, like, cool and all that on paper, and you're going to overanalyze them, but, like, the best teams, when these things happen, like, they just go out there and they leave no doubt. Like, you might say, like, oh, well, even if it is a loss, right, you might point to 3 or 4 things. Like, it kind of goes back to what I said about the Ohio State loss and why it was different than the previous years. Is like, I just want to be able, like, win or lose, I want to be able to look at the game and be like they threw their punches, but maybe Oregon was just better here. Right. As opposed to, like, they just looked afraid to lose the game, or they looked like I don't like. I just don't want to.
Last season.
Yeah, I think if you play in a manner in which you eliminate that, then A, your chances of winning are probably substantially higher. And then B, you start to slowly change a narrative, but you have to do that. Like you have to make sure that every time you get these opportunities, you leave no doubt, and you just if it doesn't work out, you just got beat.
Right.
And if it works out,
simple.
You're playing with elite confidence at the most integral part of the season. Like, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing like there's no next week. Well, I mean there is next week, but like you have to play these games like there's no next week. Mm-hmm. So I'm stoked about it.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
I'm like cautiously optimistic. Like I think these guys are poised. I think they're hungry. I think they got the right maturity. Like that'll like you said, they talked about it. I wasn't a fan of that either, but like here it is. Like here's your chance. You know,
it's one of those situations. You know, obviously had they had beaten Ohio State, you know, the rest of the season could look different. But it's one of those things where I'm optimistic, like you said, that they learn almost more from their losses.
Yeah.
Than the wins in terms of, okay, like I said, this is that we'll see you again. Not Ohio State, but the best team in the conference in the country. Like, there's no better test. It's only let's line up and do it, man. Nothing to hold back. So I'm looking forward to it as well.
Well, listen, I will be in St. John this weekend, tuning in, and then I will be on the pocket Sunday night with B from St. John with a painkiller in my hand. Hopefully celebrating a championship and a 1 or 2 seed in the college football playoff. So with that, I might have just jinxed it. Sorry. But
we're instilling confidence.
Yeah, instilling confidence.
Shoot, last season, I don't know if anyone remembers, I put the Big Ten title up that year.
You did. You definitely did.
I think it was like week 1.
I don't even know if it was week 1. It might have been week 0. But this is a good one. I appreciate it. On the road, you got it done. Road dog this week. I'll be the road dog next week, and we will catch you guys after Indianapolis. As always, make sure you're following us on all our socials. Stay tuned in. Stay plugged in. Appreciate you guys.